All right, so I'm very happy to come and report to y'all a proper conclusion that justice has been found in the Dak Prescott case. As you may remember, originally Dak Prescott sued a woman and her two attorneys for extortion because they had asked for $100 million arising from an alleged sexual assault from Mr. Prescott. Today, at a hearing, the civil judge in that case dismissed all of the claims that were brought by the accuser, Ms. Shores, and her attorneys, and left all of the claims that had belonged to Dak Prescott. And so, in summary, Dak Prescott now has absolutely no criminal investigation going on against him by any police department. There are no civil claims that are alive against him in any court of law, but the accuser is still being investigated by the Prosper Police Department, and her attorneys are still being investigated by the Prosper Police Department for extortion. And the civil claims of Dak Prescott, and you can read the pleadings, are still very much ongoing against the accuser and her attorneys. As I've already pointed out previously, Dak is not seeking any money in those claims. He will be donating 100% of the proceeds that he receives into charities that support true survivors of sexual assault. Mr. Prescott would like to thank, first of all the fans for supporting him through this trying time. Anytime there's false allegations made about you, it's difficult, especially false allegations of this type. But Mr. Dak Prescott's reputation is such that I think all of us who know him, and those of you who even know him vicariously through what he's done with charities or in the NFL or even through his interviews, know he's not a man that would do something like this. But to have the validation of now not just the police departments that have investigated it, but also the court in Judge Tucker is very validating to him. So we're happy to announce there's no more charges against him. We're happy that the court did what they did today. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Does Dak Prescott want to see criminal charges against Ms. Shores and her attorneys follow through?
Dak Prescott didn't want to be involved in any of this. Let's start there. When he was originally approached, and the letter's a part of everything that we've done, you can read it yourself, and the letter simply says, either pay us $100 million or we're going public. Dak knew he'd done nothing wrong, so he had no choice at all but to go immediately to the authorities. He went to the authorities. After that, the attorneys in this case that are now going to get sanctioned on September 13th ramped up the allegations, ramped up the things, and said, we're going public. We're going to do interviews by this date if you don't pay us money. And so at that time is when we filed a civil lawsuit to go forward. So he felt like he was backed in a corner. I don't think he ever wants to see criminal charges brought against anyone unless they've really done something wrong, and these people clearly did. And the charges are going to be up to the law enforcement authorities in Prosper. They're not up to Mr. Prescott.
I wonder, sir, if you can talk a little bit about what the judge said in her decision to issue the motion to dismiss.
Well, I think the judge, and it's very difficult obviously to speak for her. She knows what she had in her mind. But I think everyone there was confused by the attempt to justify what was done here. I mean, this is literally an example of what not to do as an attorney. I'm upset at Mrs. Shores for bringing these allegations against Dak, but I'm far more upset against the attorneys that supported these false allegations and supported them in a way that is not legal. This is literally an example of what you should not do as a lawyer. It's the absolute worst thing you can do. There's a thing in Texas law where you can't file a lawsuit for the purpose of harassment or embarrassment or just to go get money when you don't have a claim, and that's exactly what these people did.
What was Mr. Prescott's reaction to the ruling?
He's absolutely ecstatic. He's very happy, and yet he was not as happy as you think because he always knew that he'd do nothing wrong. You know, everybody who's innocent typically doesn't feel as excited about justice as they're just relieved that the system worked the way it was supposed to. And he wants to thank, again, everybody involved in that system, from the police to the court officials and the judge herself, for the rulings and the findings in this case.
How did this weigh on him throughout the entire process?
I think he took it better than almost any of us would. One of the things that Mr. Prescott does is he lives under pressure constantly. Y'all may not have noticed, but a lot of his actions are scrutinized on the football field and off. And he's very, very used to it, and I think he handled it very well and very professionally. One of the things that he did that was just always amazing to me is as soon as Dallas Police Department called and said, we'd like to investigate this, he immediately went and discussed with the Dallas Police and told them everything he knew. And so that's what he's been this whole time, is an open book about whatever happened, which was absolutely nothing. And he's pleased that now the courts have ruled that way.
And we reached out to Ms. Shores' attorneys earlier just for comment once we realized this was happening, have not heard back yet. At this point in time, is there anything additionally you expect that they're going to file moving forward, or is anything else they can do?
Well, obviously, I would expect a more public apology. I've received private apologies. I would expect a public apology from them if they say anything at all, because they know that what they did was wrong. They know actually that the hearing on the 13th is coming, where they're probably going to be held monetarily responsible for this. Of course, again, those dollars will go to a charity for Sex Survivors Fund. And so that's the only thing I think they should do. Legally, I think the case is over for them.
You said you received private apologies from her attorneys?
Yes,
Today, since the ruling?
correct.
I'm trying to gain insight into why the charges were dismissed. Can you kind of fill in that blank for us?
So in, nobody's gonna care about this on camera. In Texas law, if there's no basis in law or fact for a claim, it has to be dismissed. The court found there was no basis in law or fact for this case. So you break it down two ways. In law, they had a certain time period to bring it, the statute of limitations. They didn't. There's certain immunities and privileges that apply to, like, the defamation claim, that obviously Dak didn't defame them or step outside of the rules in that, et cetera. So there's basis in law. But then if you also look at the basis in fact, which I think is important here. I mean, this case never even was referred to the grand jury by the Dallas PD. That's because there was no corroborating evidence, there was no basis in fact to even proceed to that stage to proceed forward. So that's why it was dismissed at this early stage. I will say, as you know, it's highly unusual to get a case completely dismissed at this stage, and I think it just shows exactly how weak this case was.
Just so we're all on the same page, I understand you initially filed the first lawsuit with Ms. Shore's attorneys who filed a countersuit. That countersuit is what has been dismissed, and the hearing on the 13th will have to do with,
Hearing on the 13th is sanctions against them for bringing that countersuit.
as it relates to that countersuit, but your individual lawsuit that you filed initially against Ms. Shore's and her attorneys, that will continue to live.
Correct.
And
That's-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sanctions are against the attorney or the client, or both?
We've requested them against both. I will say, kind of as I've already said today, at the hearing, I'm going to place even more of this on the attorneys than I do on the client, because they are, educated in these areas, they know the law, and to me, they clearly violated it.
So would you agree with this? Was this a money grab? Was this all made up?
Yes, 100% it's a money grab. Yes, any allegations of illegality or wrongdoing or unfair play, you want to call it, never happened.
Is there also an issue as it related to the statute of limitations for her to bring a civil suit?
Yes, she had certain periods of time. They spent a lot of time in the argument this morning at the hearing arguing about those things. She had a certain period of time to bring her claims, and she didn't. That doesn't apply to all of her claims, but did to some of them.
So has she herself said the story is untrue, or is she sticking by what she said?
I've never spoken with her, so I don't know.
In terms of what you're saying, there is a difference between someone who's made a claim and there isn't enough evidence to support the claim, and someone who colluded with the lawyer to try to make something up to get money from a celebrity or someone who, is there proof that this was all just made up in general, or is this? I just think there's a distinction between there's not enough evidence for this to go forward or to
I don't want to step on toes in doing this, but that's basically what the hearing on September 13th is about, is was it completely frivolous or not? Actually, I shouldn't say that. My understanding is the ruling is it already was frivolous. It's how frivolous was it, is what's on the 13th. Like, should there be monetary sanctions entered and those sorts of things for it? Well, you're talking about bad faith, right? We kind of thought it was right, oops, we're wrong, versus we colluded and we intended this bad. I think that's what the 13th is about.
What's the lesson people should take away from this case?
Stick by your guns when you haven't done anything wrong, because you'll be found out to be right at the end. And the more important lesson is, don't make things up about people just to go get some money. All right, thank y'all.